why do some of us freeze up and think, oh no, what if I said something stupid? What if I'm going to hurt this person? What if it will just collapse into pieces like everything else? Sound familiar? A lot of this can stem from past experiences. If you are someone who has, for example, gone through a lot of heartbreak with friendship, especially, or with any relationship. I can't speak for much of relationship, but I do anticipate they have very overlapping um, factors. This is very specific, by the way. This doesn't apply to everyone. If you have anxiety, if you have PTSD, if you have depression, these are very common things. And it's not just for people who have any of these. Anyone who relates, anyone who wants to know about this, it's always good to broaden your horizons a bit more. It's really fascinating how people see the world, and yet they still survive in this world. We're all surviving, we just have different lens. So one of the major things that society has is pedestalization. But that's the thing. They're human beings as well. The people you want to be friends with, even if people are famous, okay? Even if people are well known, they're still human beings. Society has just placed this title or label on them, and that doesn't mean they won't bleed. That doesn't mean that they won't have their own problems. That doesn't mean they'll never be sad or angry. Everyone has moments like that. It's just society has distanced us from what's true by making us think that, oh, this person is in another dimension. No. It doesn't matter how famous someone is. Doesn't matter how whatever someone is. We're all human beings, and we shouldn't be pedestalizing one another. So whenever you're thinking about how small you are with friendships, and I'm going to be honest, I still struggle to this day. And I'm trying to remind this to myself as well. Whenever I try to form a connection, my old thoughts resurface. The ones that felt like she was worthless, the ones that felt like she was the one who did things wrong. But this is where we need to evaluate things. Sometimes it is our fault, sometimes it's not. But even so, pointing fingers is not solving anything. It's just complaining and just complaining even more. They're just a human being like you. If you feel insecure, this person has something that they're insecure about. And I think that when you start seeing people as actual people, that's what helps. A lot of us give power to the other person and think, oh no, I won't make a good impression, I won't do this, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the other person feels the same way. And let's just get rid of all the filters. You don't have to think of yourself as a robot. Because think about it this way. If you're too fixated on trying to be appealing to someone every single time, you're going to lose sight of yourself. But if you're yourself and people don't like you, that's a harsh truth, but that's common in life. People won't always like us for being ourselves, but there are people who like us for being ourselves, and the best thing is it's freeing. I don't have to put up a performance. I don't have to dress extra nice. I don't have to speak in a way that sounds so formal and unlike me just so someone likes me. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of us have forgotten this. It's something that has become so prevalent. Everything in society has become a performance. And that's the thing. You need to have a bit more self-esteem. And I've mentioned this before, and I'm holding your hand because this is not always easy to hear, but it's something I needed to hear, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people should. People are not attracted to people, genuinely, even as friends, who don't like themselves. If you are someone who explicitly appears like a downer and someone who doesn't seem like you are taking any interest or pursuing anything in life, people are going to be rejecting that. It's a repellent. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not telling you guys to act happy. I'm not telling you guys to just smile and just act like you're okay. But what I am telling you guys is you have to see it from the perspective of the other person. And sometimes it is our fault. So I'm going to explain how to solve it, or at least how to navigate through it when we're the ones who are the problem at times. So when things are our fault, we can't just say, oh, I'm terrible, I'm a terrible person. That's a repellent. That takes people away from you. When I used to be incredibly depressed, I'm talking about very bad, every single day, that's all I did. I just kept talking in self-hatred language. It was honestly unattractive and it's repulsive. people are not going to want to be around people like that. If you have no self-security, no one's going to feel secure around you. You need to feel safe around yourself before other people can feel that safety. Likewise, you need to have value within yourself in order to value others, because it's all internal before it becomes external. And let's say that we have other factors like trauma and other things like memories. Oh, this person betrayed me, this person hurt me, I'm expecting the same. This is bias. That's not truth. Those are your feelings. And I've mentioned this before, facts over feelings. So it's so easy to just listen to your feelings because you just say, okay, I think this is happening, I'm worried this is happening. But with facts, you know what's real. You just tell yourself, you know what, I've seen this happen. This happened. That happened. With feelings, you're only tentative. You're thinking, okay, this could happen, this might happen. But if you actually put yourself out there and it changed, then wow, facts. Even if it didn't change, the facts still prevailed because at the end of the day, that's what happened. We're all human beings. We're all figuring out life. There's no person out there who's worth the pedestalization. No person out there who's divine. No person out there who's, just on top of it all, above the rest. And we're human beings with flaws. So imagine how it feels when you're looking at other people who have flaws like you as people who don't. And you might not understand this explicitly. You might be thinking, okay, I already know that they have flaws, but do you act like they have flaws? That's where a lot of times we get caught. Because we may know, okay, they're a human being just like me, but our actions may prove otherwise. So yeah, you don't need to change yourself to fit into someone else's box or whatever. And it's like being a puzzle piece that doesn't fit in the equation. If you have a set picture and you're not part of it, that puzzle piece will never fit regardless. But there is a piece, a set where you do belong. You know what I'm saying? No piece is ever wasted. People just need to acknowledge that everyone has something going on. Everyone. You don't need to change yourself. You don't need to feel XYZ. Being insecure is normal. Being someone who feels pain is normal. And I know when you've been through so much heartbreak and pain, it's not easy to go back to those relationships. It's not easy to tell yourself to go back. And that's why I'm proud of you. When you have gone through so much and you still decide to give it a try in case something changes, I'm proud of you. It's not easy. Sometimes you realize I'm just going through the same thing again. What way am I going to hurt myself this time? I completely get it. But with something like a friendship or a connection, we're human beings. We're dependent on that connection. We can't always be alone. As ideal as it may sound to have solitude, sometimes we just need that companionship. And that void is something no self-love can actually fill. But even so, it doesn't mean that you can't be happy with self-love. Of course you can. But it's just the idea of other humans being with a human that makes it more promising. So start to view people as humans, not just someone who's so-called better than you. We just focus on the wrong thing. You don't have to be anything different. Because think about it, if you put a performance up now, how the hell are you going to continue it in the future? What if someone is like, okay, they like you because you put up a performance, and then you're thinking in your head, oh no, this isn't me, well, tough. You didn't show them your real self, so that's what happens. And it's not easy. Sometimes you might be thinking being yourself is the last thing. The only time, okay, I'm holding your hand again, okay. You want to be yourself as best as you can. However, if you are someone who's naturally negative, naturally someone who just brings down the party, that is something you have to change. I learned this the hard way, so I have to say it. So you can't just be someone with an identity of being depressed. That's not how you're going to bring people into your life. That doesn't mean you can't feel fulfilled. That doesn't mean you have to always act or pretend to be happy. No one is saying that. But you do have to make sure that you're not a party pooper, if you know what I mean. Because would you want a party pooper in your life? I sure hope not. That's why you always have to flip the script. If it's someone else treating you like that, how would you like it? If you always vented to someone, for example, and that's negative, right? Always venting. Imagine someone always venting to you. Wouldn't that be frustrating? So yes, I've actually been through that phase. I've been the person who vented, and I also experienced people who did the venting. Both ways are frustrating. Okay. And I know intrusive thoughts are another thing, but don't listen to those thoughts. Take attention. Pay attention to the facts. If someone doesn't like you, they should tell you downright, okay? So a lot of the times intrusive thoughts are, what if they don't like me? What if I'm talking too much? That's you and your insecurity. Did that person tell you they feel that way? You know what I'm saying? Just chill. And if that person made it abundantly clear, that's when you can start being like, okay, raise that conversation. Otherwise, you're going to act like you're doubting people. You know what I'm saying? So that's what a lot of us need to understand. I'm telling this to myself as well, because I still get this. We can't change people, but we can change ourselves, and we have to. So even if you're someone who isn't happy in life and you're trying your best to be happy, it doesn't happen overnight, but you can make a conscious decision to say, you know what, I'm going to try to look for the positive because I want to be a good influence to people. Being someone who's always negative is a terrible influence, and that's something that we don't want. If you want to feel fulfilled, you can't be with someone who feels unfulfilled. You can't be someone who feels unfulfilled and makes other people feel unfulfilled. You see what I mean? And you might be thinking, how do you balance the two? You can. By learning to control it. Because no one wants to be with someone who's always in the dumps. I learned this the hard way. Genuinely. I've been someone who was always down and no one cared. I had to change my ways. I had to stop seeing things in such a negative way. I was the one who had to do that to myself. No one saved me. No one was there. And no one will save you either. If you have someone who can help you, that's good. But everything is down to self-initiative. People can guide you to a door, but you're the one who has to open it. You're the one who has to venture out. I just hope it doesn't feel insensitive. To anyone who does feel depressed and down, I want to tell you something. I know what it's like. And that's why I'm mentioning this. I'm not going to mention a vulnerable audience without having any insight, especially personal insight of it. But we can't be like this forever, because we have to think about the potential future. Because if you are someone who is feeling good about life, or someone who just wants to be striving and fulfill, and you're with someone who makes you feel the opposite, it's going to dampen your energy. Happens both ways. Either you dampen it or someone else dampens it. You want to be with someone who's uplifting, not someone who's always happy-go-lucky. Because let's be real, not everyone's going to feel that way. But you don't want to be with someone who will make you feel like you can't do anything. It's like people have goals and then their friends tell them, oh, be realistic, you can't do this or this. People look down on them. That's why people say when you have success, you lose a lot of friends. And it's true. I had to lose so many friends because they didn't align with my vision. And then I realized years later, wow, I'm so glad I'm not in that circle anymore, because it would have kept me so grounded. Not grounded in a good way, more like plummeted to the ground, because it wouldn't have helped me. So yeah, I hope this does help. I want you to know that sometimes it can be our fault and sometimes it can be the other person's fault. But pointing fingers is never the solution. You just have to find a middle ground. You have to tell yourself, you know what? There is one part of me that is hard to deal with. There is one part of me I have to fix. The other person may be at fault, but what can you fix? Because there's always two sides of the story. And that's what people just need to get in general. We're so quick to blame others. We're so quick to say, okay, we're a victim. Stop. You have faults and you have to fix them. And this took me a while as well, because I kept thinking in the victim mentality. But no, I did wrong as well. I was negative as well. while people projected that negativity back, I was still negative. So instead of playing the blame game, focus on what the problem is and try to face it head on. But yeah, that's what I would say when people would try to form connections and feel small about others. Sometimes you feel small because you actually have done something worth feeling that way. Sometimes you feel that way because you pedestalize people. There's so many different explanations, but there's one really good solution, or at least facing it head on. Understanding you have a fault that you can work on. And second of all, realizing we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. There's no perfect person. So even if you make mistakes, that doesn't mean the other person's a saint. Everyone has something going on. And that's the freeing part. If you're yourself, then that's awesome. People will see that. People will appreciate that. And you won't have to lie. You won't have to put up some dumb performance. And it's freeing to know that others make mistakes as well. Because imagine if the other person was truly perfect. Only a perfect individual can suit a perfect person. That's the kind of mentality society wants to put on us. No one is perfect. Unless you're delusional, which you're still not perfect. So yeah, I hope this helps and feel better about yourself, guys. You deserve it. You truly are amazing people. We all have demons we're fighting. We all have something to work on. And once again, I do not intend to criticize or insult anyone who is suffering with something vulnerable. Please know that it's all tough love and from someone who is familiar with it. But yeah, I'll see you guys in another video. Also, beautiful human, please consider my coffee page as well. This helps a small YouTuber like me grow and gives me hope to continue making content. Thank you so much for being here and keep shining!